Well, good afternoon and welcome to another McLaren repair video. Today we've got a Laney 2x12 and this is one of the Ironheart amps, and yeah, it's just come in for repair. So the symptom with this one is the owner was playing, everything was going great, and then it just suddenly stopped. No sound. Now the controls do light. The LEDs come on, the power and standby lights come on, but there's just absolutely nothing out of the amp, not a sound, no hiss, no buzz, no nothing. So that's being a tube amp is slightly concerning, considering we might be looking at potentially an output transformer or some such thing. But let's have a look. So we'll just have a little twirl of the amp here and we can see it's a big heavy amplifier, this one. Here we go, there's the back of it, and got the two 12s in there. This amp is actually adjustable for where are we here? Well, yep, over here. Now we can use either 6L6s or EL34s in it. So without further ado, I will take the chassis out and we will have a look and see what's going on. Right, that came out with quite the struggle. It was quite a mission to get that out of the cabinet. It turns out when you're removing this, if anybody's doing one of these, you have to take the handles off the cabinet. You cannot get the chassis out. There is hidden screws which are at the ends of the chassis. You can see the two holes there for them. And it's not particularly light either, so yep. That was a bit of a struggle, but we got there, and here it is. So that's one big chassis. So we'll turn it over now and have a look underneath and see if we can see anything. We'll give it a good visual inspection. Okay, well, right off the bat I can tell you two things that immediately caught my attention. The first, looking down here at this circuit board, this is the circuit board for the two output tubes. It has the option to have four, so I'm guessing they must do a higher power version, or they just use the same board in different amps. But look down here, I'll try and zoom in a little bit. None of those solder joints look particularly great to me. We'll move across and have a look at this one, and oh yeah, that's not good. There's at least two, if not three, of those joints that are cracked. So considering the voltages that these joints see, that could well be at least part of the problem. The second thing I immediately found out was that the fuse is blown. In fact, I have it down here. And as you can see, it's properly toasted. So we would have to have taken the chassis out anyway, because even if we do just replace that fuse, there's a reason it blew. And we have to make sure that that reason is either fixed or dealt with in some way or another. So I'm going to do a little bit of testing now. We'll just try a few things and see what we can see. And I'll bring you back when we know what's going on. Okay, we're all set up here. We have our dummy load plugged in and configured for 8 ohms, and that's a 1 kilowatt dummy load, so I think we'll probably be alright for capacity there. We have our scope on so we can look at the output of the amp if we're lucky enough to get some. And we're all set up here. I've replaced the fuse that was blown, repaired those cracked solder joints, and I've done a few continuity tests around just to make sure that there's no direct shorts to ground or anything like that. Now I don't have the power tubes in at the moment, so we're just going to try a power up. We're going to use a dim bulb current limiter just to make sure that if anything goes puff, then it won't be too dramatic. So there's our tester there, and as you can see it's in the in position with a 60 watt bulb, and our amp is plugged in. So here we go, let's turn on the power and see what happens. Excellent, well that is a great start, and it didn't seem to let any of the magic smoke out. All looks fine. Okay, so let's go for the big power up and try and put some B+ on it and see what happens. Well, I can tell you the dim bulb flashed brightly and has now dimmed right down to almost nothing. And our standby light is on. Nice little jewel lights there. And it looks like everything might be okay. I'm going to put the phone down now and take a little break from recording. I'm going to test some voltages just on the tube sockets and stuff, make sure that there's nothing strange going on there. Then we'll put the power tubes back in and give it a whirl, see what happens. Okay, after a quick test, I can tell you that we now have 378 volts on the plates and 373 volts on the screens, and that is without the tubes in, so that'll go down a little bit once there's some draw on it. So that seems to be stable. Let's put some tubes in and see what happens. Okay, so we've got our signal generator now hooked up to the input, and we're going to apply some signal. There it is. My slightly dodgy little home-built signal generator, but never mind. Okay, so let's apply some power. And you can see now that the tubes are in, it's drawing a little bit more current. That dim bulb is now dimming down nicely as the filaments warm up. And I think we're pretty much good to go there, so I'm now going to flip it into bypass mode. So now the amp is operating on full mains power. I'm just going to make sure that everything is turned either down or to the mid position. Volumes are down. Treble, middle, bass. Let me see, gains are down, boosts, etc., etc. Okay. Well, a moment of truth. Well, standby light came on, so I'm guessing something is working. Okay, let's start turning things up and see what happens. So let me see, we're on the clean, so we'll turn up some volume on the clean channel. And rhythm volume, lead volume. A little bit difficult to know which of these is the correct volume to use. And we don't seem to be getting anything just yet. Okay. Nothing. Alright. I'm going to pause the video here, do a little bit of investigating, and I'll bring you back when we know more. Okay, after mucking around for a while, we've finally got the amp sorted, and it is now operating well. Basically, as far as I can tell, this was the problem. As you can see, this tube has started to go to air, and it's slowly giving up the ghost. So basically the filament is burned out in it. It's going to air slowly, and it's dead. So popped a new tube in and just made sure everything was right. Good bias voltage. I resoldered all those connections there. I'm going to clean that flux off in a moment because it looks a bit yuck. Made sure that the, oops, that's the meter turning off. Output connections, made sure that they were all secure and no bad solder joints or anything. The input jack was loose, so I just tightened that up and checked that all the different channels and configurations of volumes and everything all work properly, which they do. The output power watts knob, which is a slightly unusual function to see, but works well. I haven't tried the internal reverb. I'm guessing it should be working fine. It's a DSP based thing. You can see down in right there is a chip, so that'll be doing your reverb. Can't imagine there's anything too much wrong with that. Other than that, all looks good. Obviously we have a new fuse in the fuse holder, and yeah, going to pop it back in the cabinet, give it a whirl. We'll bring you back then. And we're back for the last section. So the amp is now on. I've got a signal going in to the input jack here, and all we need to do is turn up the volume a little bit and we get some sounds. I'm only going to play it for literally a second because YouTube will ping for copyright and yada yada yada. So there you go. You have it working there. Working good. Both channels work, so fantastic. I'll put the handles back in the cabinet. So this is where I was talking about. You have to remove the handles. You can see here there's two screws which go into the ends of the chassis, which are hidden underneath the Tolex or vinyl, underneath the handle mounting, and you cannot get the chassis out without taking those out. And it looks like somebody's tried, because all four of those screws were bent. So there you go. Alright. So that's the Laney 212 Ironheart combo, and it's a wrap. Catch you later.